You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, in exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society. And now, in Disney.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome in to another rockin' awesome Saturday night with the Six Screens. Boy, we have got some great programmings lined up for you tonight. Don't go anywhere. My goodness, you're going to get full night of entertainment. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to have no commercials. You're just going to be able to sit back and relax. And we got our first program starting here tonight. It's called Returning to Light. And we have a former Jehovah's Witness coming in from England, and he wants to do the program tonight. Chad will not be on with him, but let's bring Roland into the stream here. Hello, Roland.
Hello there. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all well tonight, and everybody's fit and listening in, and hopefully a lot will partake and have a say within the program.
Well, we're looking forward to your program, Roland. So anything in particular you're going to be discussing with us tonight?
Well, obviously, we know it's the JW's big time of the year coming up on Tuesday, 4th of April. It's going to be the memorial. So I thought we'd discuss that tonight because it's obviously close, and I thought we'd have a bit of a discussion on what we can do, protest-wise and things like that, and also talk a bit about what actually goes on within the memorial and why they actually do this once a year, or why they think they do it once a year.
Well, sounds good to me. So I'll cut myself loose, and I'm here if you need me. And I'm sure we got a bunch of people calling in already. So looking forward to your program, Roland. So I'm going to come in on the stream here and let you do your program.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Well, hello, everybody. It's nice to be here. And I'm just firstly offer my condolences for the shooting that you've had in America again just recently at the religious school. That's absolutely terrible. And my heart goes out to you and the people of America and the families particularly that lost loved ones. So anyway, we will move on. Obviously, we know that the biggest night of the year is coming up for the Jehovah's Witnesses, as I've just said to Rick. It's the Memorial Night, Nisan 14, and it's for Jehovah's Witnesses. It's all their birthdays, and Christmases come at once because obviously they don't celebrate Christmas or birthdays. So this is what they get together for. This is the excitement. This is an excitement, perhaps like children on Christmas Eve, in excitement of what they're going to get the next day for presents. And the JWs, they all get together and they have lots of leaflets and memorial invitations that they go around happily posting through letterboxes, sometimes knocking on doors trying to get people to talk, but usually just posted through letterboxes because a lot of the time they're not brave enough to be knocking on doors these days. And so we're just going to talk a bit about what happens in these memorials. I mean, it's firstly, obviously they invite the general public, which is something they don't often do. I mean, usually they want you to have a study before you go to a Kingdom Hall meeting, before you even sort of step foot through the door of a Kingdom Hall. That's usually required. I mean, people can come in, but as a rule, they tend to prefer that you have a study. But on this particular night, they invite people from all over the town, the areas where they live, and they hope as many is going to turn up as possible. And what the memorial is essentially is what we call a Holy Communion. In normal churches, they'll, certainly baptized ones and certain other ones will take the wine and they'll drink the wine as Christ instructed us to do. In memory of him, in memory of his blood that he shed on the cross. And obviously then the bread, which represented his broken body. The difference is with Jehovah's Witnesses, with different churches, that can happen, I don't know, it can happen once a week, it can happen once a month, it can happen, a few times, whatever. Most churches will have a set amount of time for doing it. My own church does it once a month. But with the Jehovah's Witnesses, they do it once a year. And the reason they do it once a year, so they say, is because Christ said, do this in remembrance of me. And when you do something in remembrance of something, you normally, a remembrance is sort of like a memorial, which is usually once a year. If you think about, you mark whatever day it is, you know, when something happens, then you usually mark that day once a year, such as your birthday or something else. So that was their logic. But Christ said, as many times as you do this for me, yeah, in remembrance of me, then, you know, he didn't give a specific he didn't state a specific time. He didn't say how many times to do it. He just said for as many times. So that can mean however many times we want, but not according to the Jehovah's Witnesses. It's got to be once a year. And all it is, it's ceremony. There's no spiritual movement within it. There's no feeling of Holy Spirit surrounding you when you do it. It's all for show. The whole thing is just purely a show. First of all, they'll after saying a few things, they'll talk about the why it was instigated. They'll talk about the bread, and then they'll make a blessing, and then they'll pass this plate round with the emblems on, which is normally unleavened bread, which some elder's wife is usually baked and cut into slices or baked into slices. And they'll pass this plate round, and nobody will take it, not one person, unless they're anointed. And to be anointed, you have to be part of the 144,000. We'll discuss that a bit more in a few minutes. But according to Jehovah's Witnesses, only 144,000 are anointed. And out of most of them 144,000, most of them should be dead by now, because in fact they should all be dead by now. But of course a change came, and they decided that there are still anointed around, and that it was a generation thing, and it was a crossover of generations. Too complicated to get into here, but it was a thing that they sorry, I've lost my place. It was it's all figurative is what it is. It's all figurative. It's all what they do. They pass the plate along. Nobody takes it. Nobody takes it unless they're anointed, as I say. And if you are anointed, then it's very, very rare that you'll ever see an anointed person in a congregation. But the odd person will take it, and if they do take it, they get looked at. I mean, especially if it's somebody who's not a Jehovah's Witness. But even Jehovah's Witnesses, if it's one of their own congregation, and they don't believe they're anointed, then they'll just basically they'll frown, and you'll get some serious eyebrows raised, and it's not supposed to be taken. In January, I think it's the 2016, page 26, the Watchtower tried to explain the increase in participants that year. There had been a steady rise in partakers, which shouldn't have happened, of course. And what they explained in that Watchtower was that people had mental issues, that they thought they were anointed, or people were simply mistaken. And, you know, and after that, apparently people had had a word with them, and they hadn't passed, a lot of them hadn't partaken the second time. So, you know, this is the sort of attitude you get if you do partake of the emblems and wine, and people think you shouldn't. You know, basically they look at you and they say, oh, well, you know, he's mentally ill. Again, they like to use mental illness as a weapon. They, you know, whatever it is, if you disfellowship for yourself or disassociate yourself, or you get disfellowshipped and then you turn against the witnesses, it's mental illness. You're mentally ill, you're mentally dangerous. And this is what they were saying about the people taking the emblems. They're just people who have mental delusions, who think they're anointed. But up until about 1935, I believe everybody took the emblems and everybody thought they was anointed. And it was only in 1935, I believe, that they started teaching that there was two different peoples. There was the great crowd, and then there was the anointed of the 144,000. Now, that's fine, but the only thing is, there's only several mentions of that, and it's Revelation. Let me just go to Revelation quickly, and it's Revelation 7, and it says 3 and 4 they go to. It's saying, do not harm the earth or the sea or the trees until after we have sealed the slaves of our God in their foreheads. I have heard the number of those who are sealed, 144,000 sealed out of every tribe, son of Israel, out of Judah, and so it goes on. And this is where they take the 144,000 from. Also, Revelation 14 and 1 and 14:3 also talks about it as well. The only problem with that is what they do there. They take one part of that literally, and that's the number, the 144,000. And what they don't take literally is that these are literal Israelites from these 12 different tribes. They don't take that literally, that they are pure in heart, pure in deed. They don't take literally that they sorry, let me just they don't take literally that the Father and has written the word Jesus and Father was written on their foreheads, and nor do they take literally that they have to be virgins. So they take one little bit of that as literal, and the rest as completely, just figurative, basically. Well, how can you take one part of the scripture as literal and the other part as figurative? And the other part is, how then do they get past John 6:53 and 57, which reads, 6:53, 57. Even in their own Bible, it says, so Jesus said to them, most truly I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of the Man and drink his blood, you will have no life in yourselves. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks on my blood has everlasting life, and I will resurrect him on the last day. For my flesh is true food, my blood is true drink. Whoever feeds on my flesh and drink, my blood remains in union with him, with me, and I am in union with him. And so Jesus is quite clearly there telling everybody to partake of the blood and the wine. And it's, and unless you're born again, and unless you do these things, you have no relationship with Jesus. So what they're doing is blasphemy. It's pure blasphemy. They're taking that relationship, that one-to-one that we have with Jesus, and certainly when we do communion, that moment is precious. It's just a beautiful moment. I mean, I love doing it every time I have communion. You can just feel that moment, and of course we're advised not to do that unless we are pure in heart. But they're not giving the Jehovah's Witnesses the chance. They're not giving them the chance to have that feeling. They have no chance to have a personal relationship with God. Sorry, was somebody there? You can come in if you need to, if you got somebody who wants to talk. No? Somebody there?
Yeah, I'm rolling.
Yeah, hi, come in.
Yeah, I just have a quick thought for you. The Jehovah's Witnesses keep doing this, overlapping generation, and we all know it's a lie. We know it's a fraud. But you alluded to the fact that the numbers of the anointed should be going down with the passing of time, but they're going up. And no matter how they try to fudge the numbers, what really surprises me is that they're reporting to the rank and file that the number of anointed are going up. They lie about everything. I'm just so surprised that they would even tell people that the numbers are going up. There were supposed to be very, very old men in 1975, those who saw the beginning of the end, and they would have had been born around 1899, the year 1900, 1901, in that vicinity, to be old enough to discern what was happening in the world in 1914. So when I was in the Jehovah's Witnesses in 1970, it only made sense that 1975 would bring the end of the system, because there would still be a remnant on the earth. Now, in 2 years, we're going to be celebrating the 50th year since 1975. It's such a lie, and it's just amazing that feeling intelligent people that are Jehovah's Witnesses still believe the lie when there's oceans and oceans of evidence that says Jehovah's Witnesses are a liar. And I just was humming a song the other day. A lot of this JW stuff, even though I've been out for 30 years, still is in your head. That song that goes, "We're Jehovah's Witnesses. We speak out in fearlessness and ours is the God of true prophecy." Well, that prophecy was 1975 in October, would bring the end of the system eventually. That was the prophecy. It was a lie. And Jehovah's Witnesses, those who run the organization, the governing body, they are liars. Thank you, Roland.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Somebody else there? Somebody else have a comment?
Hello, can I?
Hello, come in, caller.
Yeah.
Yeah, come in. Hello, I can hear you. Talk. Hello, go ahead. No? I can't hear you. You'll have to speak up. No? Oh, well, if you want to come in, I'll carry on until you're ready. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it is. This should have come in 1975. It should have, we always, they was all ready for it. And I mean, people were selling their homes and taking out, just taking out loans and things. And of course, they're thinking that they weren't going to have to pay it all back. And I mean, that was on the strength of the 1975 prophecy. And now they try to say that they never said that. They try to say that it was the congregation, the general J.W. Drone that got it wrong, that they hadn't ever really said that. But if you look at the Kingdom Ministries and the various watchtowers from 1974 towards the end of 74, it actually tells you of stories of people that have sold their homes and also and sold the homes and just using the money, spending the money, and they're using the last weeks and months. It didn't say last years, it said last weeks and days. What days and weeks? That was what it said. They're using the last days and weeks to do the pioneering work, is what they said, and this, and they're going to use the money to sort of have a good time in the process. And then, so they certainly didn't say, well, they shouldn't be doing that. We never said that, it's definitely coming in 1975. They actually ran this story like it was a good thing, like everybody should be doing that thing. If you want to, might as well spend your money because it's not going to be any use in a few months' time, basically, is what they were saying. So, they certainly didn't discourage it, and so therefore, the congregation was not wrong. It was them. They lied and they made a false prophecy. And of course, we know from Deuteronomy 18 what happens to false prophets there. They should be put to death. You shouldn't be believed. They're not to be feared. And yet this is exactly what happens with Jehovah's Witnesses. They do fear them. They fear the governing body. They fear the line of authority that goes down from the governing body to the elders. You know, everybody's living in fear because it's like a communist state. You know, it's like a communist religion, or it's a, you know, everybody is controlled. Everybody's fearful. It's like North Korea. You know, nobody dare say anything about the head, because if you do, you're going to be killed spiritually. You're going to be kicked out. But they don't tell you all this when they come round to invite you to a memorial. They don't tell the people in the public that, oh no, they're all smiles and they're all, oh, you know, wouldn't this be a better life? We've got paradise. And if you come to the memorial, oh, and also they're giving a talk this Sunday before the memorial, which they call a special talk, which will be further propaganda and rubbish. And they're inviting the public to that as well, I believe, as they used to do. Sorry, carry on.
I was just going to ask you, I don't mean to interrupt, but could I add a point to what you were saying about 1975?
Oh, yeah, absolutely interrupt. And by all means, go ahead. I'm quite happy to have callers.
Yeah, this is Eric. And I was thinking about what you were saying, and I crash carts, and sometimes I bring up 1975, and they deny it. And I have to say, it's one of the most frustrating things in the friggin' world. And yes, I use the euphemism. It's really freaking frustrating because my grandfather was an elder, and I'm fourth generation born in, and my grandfather was an elder around the 70s, right when they started the arrangement. And he died an elder, and he told me that, Eric, like when I was a boy, he said Watchtower got 1975 wrong. I told my daughter, you know, and your mother, she'd never have kids, and blah, 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 you know, just keep going, never go to school, all that. But then he said they got it wrong. And the only thing that my grandfather was messed up with was he told me that the reason why it all happened was because Jehovah was testing the people. And the ones that, because he told me there was a mass exodus in 1975. He saw a lot of people leave. And he said that the Jehovah was testing those people, you know. And I just thought, now looking back and knowing the truth of that, what a line of malarkey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was sort of told a similar thing by an elder because I questioned him about the 19.
My grandfather. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
I need to talk over. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was just saying that. So that goes out to all the people that ever said that, like, all the witnesses that are saying, oh, it was just a rumor. No, it wasn't. It was, I mean, you got Fred Franz saying it in a talk, and my grandfather, you know, I mean, I know that doesn't mean anything to your audience, but to me it does. He told me they got it wrong, you know, I mean, and so it's very frustrating is all I wanted to say is when they deny 1975. I didn't mean to interrupt you. My apologies.
Oh, no. By all means, anybody can interrupt. I don't mind at all. It makes it, you know, it's the viewers that make the program. It's supposed to be like a chat show. So we like to have many people participating as possible. I don't mind being interrupted. So if anybody else wants to come in, by all means, jump in. Is somebody else there?
Get back on?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Roland. Yeah, thank you. I started listening to Jehovah's Witnesses rhetoric in around 1970 and started going to the Kingdom Hall in 1971. My sister was becoming a Jehovah's Witness. And I had just come back from being in the Vietnam War. So anytime I heard the word war, it really got my attention. And I was told that Armageddon was definitely going to come in 1975. But what the audience probably doesn't realize is that most of the public talks at the Kingdom Hall are scripted right from Watchtower, right from the writing department. So elders had a little versatility. They could add a scripture here and there. But the basic theme from all the talks that I heard from 1970 till the beginning of 1975 was, the time is very short, brothers. We're in the last minutes of the last minute of the last minutes of this wicked old system. It's coming down. You can guarantee on it. It's absolute guarantee. Jehovah never lies. In 1975, October will be the end of this wicked system. And then everybody claps at every convention, at every Kingdom Hall I was ever at. Again, those talks the elders gave were scripted from the Watchtower. They had to put them across almost verbatim, and that's what the Watchtower was selling from. I'm not sure. Here's what I can absolutely tell you, that I was sat in the Kingdom Hall in 1971, and it's all I heard was Armageddon, Armageddon, Armageddon. So they did broadcast it, and then when people were leaving, and there was a lot of disgruntled Jehovah's Witnesses because they sold everything and went to the need was great, they come along with this at a convention. One of the governing bodies, brothers, some brothers ran ahead of the organization, and they said that 1975 was going to be the end of the system in October, as a matter of fact. But you know, the governing body never said that. That is a bold-faced lie. It's a lie, because they pushed that across every congregation in the world that October 75 was going to be the end of this wicked system of things. Thank you, Roland, for joining your program.
Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed your comment there. Yeah, very true. I mean, like I say, I've read the literature from 1974, 1975, and it definitely quite clearly says that Armageddon is coming in 75. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. And I actually asked an elder once about this, because I was fairly new to the congregation at the time, and a few years before that, I'd met a lady who was a Jehovah's Witness, and she said she'd left in 1975 because they told her Armageddon was coming, and it hadn't. And I hadn't really thought too much about it until I become a JW. And so I asked an elder, I said, well, what about 1975 thing? What was that all about? And he said, oh, well, that was, it wasn't the governing body, or it wasn't the Watchtower that got it wrong. It was, it was basically it was the congregations of the world, the general JW person. They just misunderstood. The congregations misunderstood what the governing body was saying. And of course, I was reasonably new, so I just took him at his word. I never thought to check up on their literature. I never thought to check 1974 literature, 75. I never gave it a thought. I just took his word for it. And I thought, oh, well, that must be the explanation for it. Then people misunderstood. It was only when I left and I started, particularly through the lockdown, when we had the first lockdown, I started reading an awful lot of their stuff. I'd already left, been inactive for a couple of years by then. But when I started to seriously think about handing me notice, and I started looking at literature, and I went through the 1974, 75 literature, and I could quite clearly see that it was definitely promoted that Armageddon was going to be in 1975. There was no doubt about it in their minds. And yet, now they'll deny that they ever said that. They're liars. They are absolute liars. And yet, they'll accuse apostates like me and what have you of lying. Well, I've never said one word that isn't true about them. Everything that we say is true. That whatever they can say whatever they like, but go to a Kingdom Hall, go to the meetings and see for yourself if you don't believe us. See the hypocrisy that goes on, and see the deceiving and the brainwashing and the backstabbing and the fear that goes through the JWs. You have to go for a few weeks, months to get used to it, but to see it. But after a while, you see it. You start looking around and you see it. The whole lot of it is just it's polluted. And for them to say that they never said it, well, I mean, that's just an out and out lie. And of course, we know who the father of the lie really is, and that just shows to me who they're run by. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
I guess if nobody is on there, I just kind of follow up on a thought that I was putting down to folks.
Hello, can I continue?
Yeah, carry on. So I think we've got two callers here. Just let whoever it was that was talking first, you go first, and then whoever Was it, I think it might be my friend Kate Fringpong that wants to come on after. So if that's you, Fringpong, just hang on a minute and let the other caller go first.
Yeah, just a quick thought. They're going to keep on lying because they don't have the courage to say we're the false prophet. So, right now we're 2023. We're almost 50 years away from when Armageddon should have happened, according to them. And they're counting on that if they tell their rank and file right now, Jehovah's Witnesses, that some brothers ran ahead, they won't do the research like you did, going back to the 70s or even the late 60s. They're counting on you'll just accept their word for it because they say they're in the truth. So if you're in the truth, everything that comes from the JW world is the truth, when in fact, it is just the opposite. It is a lie, and they're just counting on that you won't do your research, or the JWs won't do the research. They'll just believe the lie. Thank you.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what they do. Yeah, and it's not that they don't. I don't know. I mean, it's like with me. I mean, I've always thought I was quite an inquisitive person. I've always questioned a lot of things, but as a JW, I question nothing of theirs, not for a long time. I just, even if there was things I didn't understand, there was things I didn't understand, but I just pushed it to the back of my mind because I thought, well, it's me that's not understanding, because that's what they make you believe. They make you believe that if you don't understand something or something doesn't seem quite right from scripture, it's you that doesn't understand. And it's not the governing body or the Watchtower that's wrong. It's not the elders that's wrong. It's not the print in the Watchtower that's wrong. It's you that's wrong. It's us. It's, we've got some defect that's stopping us seeing what they're seeing. But so they almost sort of make it out like it's some defect with us, and so therefore people won't ask, and they won't question, and they won't prod things, because if they do prod things, you start getting accused of wrongful thinking and apostate thinking and things like that if you dare to question anything. But they don't mention this when you go to the memorial. Oh no, it's all, they're all up to the people lovey-dovey and everything. People that are just walking in off the street, maybe they've got Bible studies that have gone that have never been to the Kingdom Hall before, maybe a root call. They all walk in. They don't see any of this side of the JWs because, they don't see the lies, and they don't see the manipulation. They don't see the families that are torn apart. They don't see the children that have been kicked out of their houses because they don't believe what the parents believe anymore and left desolate. They don't see the suicides that goes off, particularly in young people. I mean, I know 3 myself that have committed suicide now, and they're all been quite young. They don't show you any of that. No, you walk into that Kingdom Hall on a memorial night, and they'll all be up to you. Oh, hello there. How are you doing? Where are you from? Nice to see you. We'd love to have you along. As if it's all pleasant, and they're all such loving people, and everything will be done like clockwork. It'll look so professional because somebody will be up doing the microphones right on cue, and then they'll swap elders right on cue, and everything will be done to the minute, right on cue. You have a certain amount of time to do one thing. You have a certain amount of time, and it all looks very professional. It looks brilliant, and you think to yourself, "Oh, this is a really well-organized organization. It must be run by God, because only God could be running things like this." God's organization, and it's very tempting to people who walk in there for the first time. It does seem very. It does seem it's very organized, very clockwork, but at the same time, it does seem like, in a way, you've got no imagery as such. You've got no sort of, if you're a bit sort of nervous about religion, you don't go in there. You don't see massive pictures of Jesus and crosses and stuff like that. So it's just like, so you sort of are a bit relaxed, but you're seeing this religion in action, and it is quite deceitful, because you only see what they want you to see. They don't show you what comes after, you know. Sorry, I think somebody was going to come in there. No?
Hey, Roland.
Aye, go ahead.
It's not gonna happen. Yeah, Roland, I concur with you 100%. If you don't get what's going on, or if things don't make sense to you that you're hearing from the platform or you're reading in your literature, what I always used to say is, well, Dick, you're not the sharpest, tool in the tool shed. If everybody else is getting it, they must be getting it because nobody's questioning anything. I had questions. Then if I asked a question, I was always told, well, you hang in there a little longer. The Holy Spirit will reveal it to you and you will understand. So I waited for a lot of years to have the Holy Spirit reveal things to me that didn't make sense. And you know what? He still hasn't made the knowledge that I needed available to me because it's not there. It was just lie and cover up of light. So if you're thinking that you don't understand because you don't have Holy Spirit, no, you don't understand because it doesn't make sense. Thank you, Roland.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it is. I mean, we think ourselves that we perhaps going a bit crazy or we're a bit sort of academically challenged, perhaps, and that's why we don't understand it. Or maybe we're just not, good enough with the scriptures to understand it, which happens to a lot of new ones, of course. They come in and only been in a year or two, they perhaps don't know the scriptures so well. So, of course, right there, they're thinking, well, I don't know the scriptures so well, so I'll just, I'll push it to the back of my mind at the minute. Or if they do ask, they may or may not get some kind of answer, but it'll not be a full-on answer. It'll just be sort of basically, oh, well, basically, a lot of the time they tell you to go and research it yourself. They won't actually tell you. And if you can't find the answer, they'll say, well, just pray on it or whatever. They're very reluctant to give you answers about anything. And but they make us feel like it's us, and it's our fault if we can't understand, and maybe we should study harder. It's all about the study with them. But if you're studying something that isn't clear, well, it doesn't become any more clear, because if it's polluted and you can't see, you can't see through it, how are you supposed to see what's underneath it? And how are you supposed to get to the bottom of it if you can't see? I mean, and it's so polluted. I mean, not only do they pollute the Bible, they've added words and taken words out of that, so you can't even rely on their Bible because it's completely different to everybody else's. And so they try to sort of, that's how they try to rule people. That's how they try to keep people in the dark, because if they're kept in the dark and haven't got much knowledge, knowledge is power, and if you have power, then they have no power, and that's the problem, and that's why they do it. They try to belittle you, make you feel insecure and irrelevant, and that's how they do it. They say, oh, well, it's you don't understand, and you can't understand, and it's and that's the way they keep control of you, because that's what you start to believe. And again, this is why it's so important, I think, for XJWs to get out there, if they can, if it's possible, to get out there and get protesting outside the Kingdom Hall on Memorial Nights, and also we have a lot of people now on YouTube, on shows like this, online. We have XJW groups, and also scriptural debate sites with JWs, active JWs. And I've noticed on there that we're actually turning a lot of them, the other way. I mean, I've noticed with a couple of the JWs who are very staunch, true blue JWs when I first started talking to them. Now I don't even recognise them as JWs, because what they're saying now is completely different to how they started. And now they're starting to see the JW truth for what it is, which is a lie. And so these things are very important. But Memorial's coming up on Tuesday. It's a good chance to get out there. There's a lot of people go who are, like I say, Bible studies or root calls. the JWs will harass them and say, oh, you know, we'd love to have you along and make them feel welcome. And then they'll go in and they'll, you know, all the rest will be around. They'll say, oh, I've got so-and-so coming tonight, you know. So all the rest of them will come up to them and make them feel so welcome, you know. And it's up to us, to people like us, to tell people like them, no, you're not safe. Not only is your spirituality not safe, your mental health is not safe, and nor are your children safe. You know, because of the paedophilia thing that goes on in there. I mean, so, yeah, this is why we should be out there. And I don't know what everybody's doing. If you want to ring in and tell me what you're doing, I'd be interested. Do you go to the Kingdom Hall? Do you partake even? Do you dare partake of the wine and emblems just to make a point? Or do you go in and try to talk to them? Or do you stand outside and protest? Have you done any of that? I did last year. It's the first time I'd done it. It was great. The adrenaline rush was absolutely magnificent. And, you know, and I managed to talk to a fellow that was, I think he was a ministerial servant, and Matthew, I think his name was, if I remember rightly. And we stood talking for about 20 or 30 minutes while the memorial was going on, and he stood at the gates and he took a leaflet off me, which, you know, I'd made up, you know, sort of discussing the paedophilia and stuff that goes on within the congregations and various other things. And we had a good chat, and, you know, and I think basically he was PMO. He was there. He told me he was only there because his family were JWs, and he didn't want to leave because he didn't want to lose contact. Alexa off. Alexa off. Sorry, that's my Alexa. You know, so we can all do things like that. You know, we can all have a hand in doing these things, just getting through to these people and letting them know, particularly people that aren't aware of what's going on within the congregations. Like I say, the root calls, the Bible studies, you know, it's people like that that are likely to take the lead, because it's people like that that are going to notice us, and it's people like that that we might save from a horrible life of depression, maybe if they've got kids being sexually abused by one of the elders, whatever it is, the control that they have. Once you become a witness, you have no life of your own after that. You are completely controlled by the organisation. You're completely under their control. And any step one side or the other, and you're out, and you're spiritually dead. You lose your family, you lose your friends, and you lose your mentality. You lose your mental ability to think straight, and you lose your mental ability to keep yourself, you know, happy. And I mean, I've been left with bipolar depression. It's caused no end of issues. And even though I'm out of there and I'm really happy now, I'm happy at my new church, and they're absolutely brilliant. They do a lot for me. They're absolutely wonderful people. But even so, I'm still left with bipolar, and it was because of the Jehovah's Witnesses. You know, bipolar is one of them things that once it kicks off, you don't really ever get over as such. You can cope with it, you can get through it, you can deal with it, but you know, but it's there. You know, it's always threatening, and this is what happens. So many JWs have got mental health issues. So many of them. It's a high percentage compared to other religions, 4-1, I think. This is what we're doing. This is why we're out there. This is why we're stood outside the gate. This is why Rick goes out there every year. No doubt you'll be out there again this year, won't you, Rick?
Yeah, I'm planning on it. That's coming up this Tuesday night, Roland. So looking forward to it.
Yeah. Are you going to have a live show, Rick?
Yeah, if all goes well, we're going to be live right from there. We don't have a whole lot of people that'll be there with me this year, but if I have to just be there by myself, I will. I've got the signs, I've got the ammunition, so I'm ready to go. Oh,
good. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you know, other people, you know, it's very hard when you think about going out there, especially if you're going by yourself. I mean, I did last year, and it was, you know, I was a bit terrified at first, but then when I got there, you know, I just felt brilliant. And you know, knowing that you're doing some good, and knowing that, you know, you're being noticed, and knowing that you may be saving somebody from that life, you know, for years of their life, and saving them from whatever terror it is that they have in store for them behind the Kingdom Hall doors. you know, for me, that's worth it. It's worth, I mean, last year it was actually quite cold when I went out. It was very bitter, and the wind cut right through me. But to be honest, I didn't notice it because I was that happy to be there doing something. And it'll be the same this year, although I think I'm going to a different congregation this year. I think I'm going to one a bit further down the road, which is about 15 miles away. I probably might go into the hall and then just observe and then probably give out some leaflets when I get a chance, like before I get kicked out. But so yeah, so if anybody else is, I know my friend Steve Wynyard, he's going to be out there protesting on the Memorial Night. I think he's going to go and do his bit. He's quite an active warrior when it comes to protesting. And yeah, so anybody else? Is anybody else going to be doing that? Anybody want to tell me what they did last year? If anybody had any experiences?
Well, I'll just step in here, Roland, help you out a little bit. No, in fact, last year we went out and my friend and I went out in Norman, and we did a live broadcast there, and we had our signs. And what I'm knowing is seeing at least is the temperament of the Jehovah's Witnesses actually changing. We've been doing this now actually for 17 years, but we missed 2 years, once because of COVID. There was no meeting there. And also one time they had a wicked storm come through. But for 15 years we've been doing it. And at first, I'll tell you, it was hard to even get a witness to even look at your signs. They would just drive by, give you a nasty face. But now what we're noticing is as the years progressed along, a lot of people are PMOs. They're slowing down. They're reading the signs. We're actually getting thumbs up. People are actually lifting their thumbs and appreciating that we're there when we're showing up and exposing the Watchtower. So that's something different. Sorry,
carry on.
I was going to say that, and we do have people that actually stop and, roll their windows down. And some of them have asked, do you have anything I can have? So we have some little cards and little brochures, flyers that we hand out. But it's very amazing that the whole tempo has changed, Roland. It's a different world protesting. But I'm going to tell you, you mentioned adrenaline rush, and that's exactly what you get when you go stand in front of a Kingdom Hall. A person has to do it to really feel it. And Roland, the disappointing thing here is, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I offered anybody. I'm in the sign business. I make signs, and I offered people a free sign, free. I'll even pay the shipping. And all you have to do is get on the Kingdom Hall, hold the sign up, and that would be it. But, I couldn't get anyone to even take a free sign from me. I can't even give a sign away.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I suppose it does. It takes a lot of courage. And I suppose some people just don't want to be back at the Kingdom Hall at all. They just don't want to be reminded. But I do think that a lot of it is because a lot of people probably think, oh, well, we can't make any difference. It's just me on my own, or it's just a couple of us, or, we don't want to make a scene or whatever it is. But, you're not making a scene as such. What you're doing is you're being seen. And people, if you're seen, then people are going to start asking questions. And if you've got a sign there that's stating exactly what's going on, people are going to take notice of that, and they're going to think twice, and they're going to start thinking, all right, well, when I get home, I'll have a look at that online or whatever, and they do. I know they do, and we can see that people are now starting to become aware of the witnesses, thanks to, things online and stuff, thanks to shows like this, and, and a lot of other YouTubers are coming out now. But I still think it's worth it on a memorial night, because a lot of people are going there who aren't witnesses, or there's a good few go there that aren't witnesses to various different congregations. And, some congregations get actually quite a good, used to get quite a good, they used to get over half again of the people sometimes, maybe more sometimes. So if there was 50 in a congregation normally, we'd probably expect 50 or 60 odd people to turn up extra as well. from the public. Well, if you've got even a few people coming in, even if it's only one person that doesn't normally go there, if they see that sign and you save them from that life, well, then it's worth it. Also, the other witnesses that are in there are PMO. It might get them thinking a bit more as well. And I know it has done. I know certain people, it has done. It has got them thinking, and they have come out. And
well, I'll tell you, Roland, I'll pop up here and tell you what you're saying is absolutely true. A lot of people listening, they probably say that doesn't, no one's going to do a thing. You're not going to get anybody out of the organization. That's all a bunch of baloney. Well, I have to tell you, I have to agree with you and say the people that are naysayers are really not understanding that it is helping people. Many people, even right now, are leaving the Watchtower for signs and different protests that they saw outside the convention centers and Kingdom Halls years ago. And I'm going to tell you, there was a woman a couple of years ago, and she was a Bible study, and she was coming to the meeting, and she was invited.
Hello, can I comment in?
Just let Rick carry on and then comment after the caller, please.
So
carry on, Rick.
So anyways, the woman stopped the car, and she thought that we were Jehovah's Witnesses welcoming the people. She wasn't really reading the signs at that point. So she stopped. She said, "Oh, this is nice that you welcoming us all to the meeting tonight." We said, "Well, wait, I think you got this mixed up. We're not Jehovah's Witnesses. We're former Jehovah's Witnesses. And we're actually exposing what's going on in this organization." She said, "Well, what's going on?" So I told her, I gave her a brochure. I told her all about the child molesting, the cover-up, the shunning, breaking families apart. And she says, "I did not know that." She says, "I'm turning my car around right now and going home, and I'm not coming back."
Yeah, absolutely. And if you only saved that one person from that life, then it was worth it, wasn't it?
Yes.
Because we both know, Rick, how terrible it is when when you're in there, and especially if you get on the wrong side of them, and your face doesn't fit, and it's an awful life. They can make your life an absolute misery, as they did mine and many other XJWs that phone in. We've had various stories where various witnesses have been in absolute tears, men and women, including myself. I mean, they've had me in tears a few times. I'm not a sort of person that sheds tears easily, but when I think back to some of the things they did, the way they treated me and the way they treated other people, it is enough to bring anybody to tears. And we've had this, we've had people come in absolutely brokenhearted by the way they've been treated. Well, if we can stop that, if we can just stop one person as you did that night having to go through that, well, then isn't it worth it? So it's about thinking, yeah, all right, we've left, and we're all right, we're probably okay, and we're doing okay now, and that's fine. So let's get on with our lives. Yeah, but there's other people going in there, and as a Jehovah's Witness, we were probably responsible for bringing people into that organization. I know I certainly was. I had Bible studies. I brought people in. And now I regret it. And so every person now that I can get out, or every person I can get to notice me stood outside of Kingdom Hall or on here or wherever it is that I'm doing it, for me, that makes up for all the years that I was sort of deceiving, not intentionally deceiving people, what I believed was true at the time, but it was a deception that was, I was deceived, and therefore I deceived others through their deceptions to me, and but that doesn't make me feel any better that it wasn't my fault. It just, all it does to me is shows me how easy it is to become deceived by this religion that's so dangerous and so affects people that I think now we have a duty to a certain extent to make sure others don't suffer the same. And if we can get people out of there, as then hopefully we can rest a little bit easier, thinking, well, we can balance it a little bit, the books. So that's the way I look at it. Anyway, I just couldn't sleep at night knowing that people would be, facing the same situation that I face, have their children being molested, their mental health being put through the mill. you know, being told that they're worthless and to keep doing more and to have to go out and spend the money to get new clothing for meetings and assemblies and, you know, traveling around using your petrol to get to meetings and then having to go on the ministry and, putting your own secular work aside and your own pocket aside to make sure that money's going into their pockets, you know. But they don't tell you all that at the memorial, you know. And I think if we can save one person from that misery, then it's certainly worth it. Sorry, was there somebody else coming in just before Rick? When Rick was talking, there was somebody else trying to get through. Are you still there?
Oh, I was just going to add to you guys. Sorry to comment again. It's Eric.
Oh, no, carry on, Eric. All right. I enjoy talking to you. Go on.
I was talking to Rick one time, and I would love to crash or, you know, set up in front of a hall, but I don't want to do it alone. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I could figure out a way to network or figure out if anyone's in the Nashville area, because strength in numbers. I mean, I crash their carts. I have the courage to do it at all, but it's just being by yourself. If you have other people there with you, you should, you know, like I said, with strength in numbers. But
oh yeah, absolutely. You do feel a little bit. You do feel a little bit out of place, maybe for a start. When you first get there, you can feel a little bit, oh, I don't know about this. But the minute you start, you know, get your signs up. I didn't have signs last year. I just had leaflets and I just handed them out and I put a few on the car, underneath the car windscreens and stuff like that. Sort of not in the car park because they was doing the best to keep me out. And there was a few cars that pulled up at the gate and they actually took leaflets, and some of them actually were witnesses, which was a surprise. There weren't many, but one or two took them. And like I say, I had a chat with the guy there, and I mean, I presume he's still there at the minute. I haven't been up for a while, but we had a good chat. And I think once you get going, I think, you know, you're fine. It's just the thought of being there on your own. And yeah, it is better if you've got numbers. I mean, I would like people to come and protest for me in this area. But getting hold of XJWs that's willing to do it, like Rick said, is very difficult, because you know, it's all about nerves and having the nerve to do it. And not many people really have got the nerve to do that sort of thing. You know, but you know, because it seems daunting, but I think, you know, when you get there, you'd be surprised at just how exhilarating it is. I mean, I just felt wonderful on the night, and you know, I was there by myself. A couple of elders came out and tried to intimidate me by staring at me and, you know, giving me the evils. But you know, I just found that funny. And I mean, you know, I just went and sort of, you know, peaceful. I didn't sort of try to cause any issue. I didn't try to get onto the property. I didn't try to go into the Kingdom Hall because they would have blocked me anyway. But I enjoyed myself. I just stood outside and I just kept walking up and down when I saw people and handing them leaflets, talked to the guy on the gate, as I said, and it was a great night actually. And before I knew it, I mean, I was there for two meetings. I was there for, I'd been a member of both congregations, and they both share a hall, and so I stayed for both the meetings because they had two memorials there that night, and all through it was thoroughly enjoyable, and I you know, it was I would thoroughly recommend it to anybody, to be honest with you, and just for the adrenaline thrill, it's you know, better than any drug. So yeah. But if there are people out there and you do want to get together, maybe if you know people who are in your area, maybe, you know, a few XJWs to get together and form some kind of union and go out there and, you know, and protest together. Not just maybe at the memorial, but maybe at the Kingdom Hall on a Sunday or a Thursday night or whatever as well. You know, you don't just have to keep it to the memorial. Memorial's a good night to do it because it's a big event, and but you know, there are other days as well and nights, and maybe, you know, if people want to get together, perhaps that's a good idea. You know, if you know there's a few XJWs in your area, contact them, get together and go as a team. You know, it's like you say, strength in numbers. Anybody else?
You know, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Is there somebody else on the line? No, no, nobody else on the line. No, obviously not. No, I think this year, I think it's it's going to be a good year to get to people as well, because like Rick said, people are starting to take notice. They're starting to question. People in the truth are starting to become uneasy at certain things that are going on. Such things within the governing body. The governing body haven't helped themselves with recent goings on. The things they've said, Stephen Lett with his children being enemies of God. People are starting to question things like this. And I think if we're out there also questioning them, it'll make them think even harder. They'll double down on what they're thinking, and they'll perhaps hopefully start doing some studying and really look into it and see what the JW org is really about, and start looking into the past history and see all the lies that they've come out with. I mean, of course, there isn't just an 1975 Armageddon prophecy that didn't happen. There's a 1918 prophecy that didn't happen. There's a 1925 and 30s and 40s and 50s. Armageddon's always just round the corner, but certainly 1918, 1975, that was a steadfast prediction of theirs. It didn't come true. So what does that make them? It makes them false prophets. And basically, somebody said earlier that, that the governing body said, oh, well, the Jehovah doesn't lie. Well, no, Jehovah doesn't lie. And that's why we have that scripture in Deuteronomy 18. If anybody prophesies anything in my name that doesn't come true, then that prophet should be put to death. I mean, that's how God felt about it in the Old Testament. Is he really going to put these people in charge of his only organization on earth, according to them? Is he really going to let these false prophets, who would have been put to death in the Old Testament, is he really going to let them now rule his only true religion on earth? I don't think so. You've just got to ask yourself these things. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I was just thinking about some of the things you were saying. I like that scripture you mentioned. That's one of the scriptures that removed me from the organization. When I read that if a person doesn't prophesy correctly, the prophet should die. And I knew 1975, there was something dicey about that, because they say, oh, well, in time, the light will get brighter. Just wait on Jehovah, wait on Jehovah. It was always wait on Jehovah, and you were waiting forever. There was never an answer. But I think, too, this might be a good year to reach people, is because not only has their past history been upsetting, but the recent history, like the shooting in Germany, a bunch of all the witnesses know about that, plus Anthony Morris being removed from the governing body and having 2 governing body members added. So that kind of makes things unsettling for people. And so if you bring things up, they just might put 2 and 2 together.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you've got all the news stories from places like Norway, who are going against the witnesses because of the shunning and the paedophilia thing going on. You've got other countries also going along with that, that they're not prepared to support them or give them tax breaks or whatever as charities because they're shunning people. It's starting to make people think, and when you get people talking about apostates banishing like smoke and stuff, people have got families who are apostates. They are out the organization, and they're thinking, well, hang on a minute, this is going to be my son, this is going to be my daughter, my granddaughter, my grandchild, a baby, my baby grandson, because his parents aren't, or her parents, if it's if they aren't witnesses and they're not coming into, well, they're going to suffer as well. It's people are starting to weigh these things up and think, well, hang on a minute, is this really what God would do? Is it simply because I'm not listening to 10 blokes or 8 blokes, whatever, 8 blokes in the first place. I mean, it's gone up now, but people are starting to question, and this is why the congregations are starting to fall. I mean, the numbers are starting to fall. we're seeing less and less people go into the congregations. There's also Kingdom Halls being shut down, of course. You've now got that issue as well, because people. I had a friend the other week come round. She's actually still an active JW, but she came round to see me about an elder and on another issue, and she risked basically being disfellowshipped if anybody's seen her coming in here. But she needed to talk to me, and she was saying that her congregation that's shutting down, so they're now going to have to use the hall that my two congregations used to use, the ones both congregations that I used to attend, and so now they're going to have a third congregation using the same hall. Well, what would they do on a memorial night? How would they get 3 memorials going in one night? They don't think about that. What about the people like my friend? Her husband's now having issues with his health, and he's starting to have a bit of dementia, I believe. So she can't drive. He can't drive now. He's going to lose his license. Well, it's about from where they live. They have to travel about 12 or 13 miles to the Kingdom Hall that they're supposed to be using. They're selling off the Kingdom Hall where they are, but there's a lot of old people in that congregation, and you have to get 2 buses from that town down to the Kingdom Hall that they want them to use. Well, on a Sunday, the Sunday bus service is next to non-existent. It's once an hour. At night time, it's almost impossible to get a coach. And of course, the meetings don't start, they start at, 7 and finish at 9. So if a meeting finishes at night time, the coach is gone. There's no way of getting home. So how are these people supposed to get to the meeting? But they don't care about that. They don't care about the average JW. They don't care about the ones that have to travel. Oh, no, let's sell the Kingdom Hall and put that, bank that money, But the trouble is people are starting to question this now, because they're saying, well, why would the governing body do this? Why are they selling this Kingdom Hall? There's still quite a few people go to that Kingdom Hall. So it's not like there's only 2 or 3 going, and it's not worth keeping it going, but they've decided to shut it down and amalgamate with another Kingdom Hall. And it's things like this that people are starting to notice now. They're starting to notice that they're giving everything to the organisation, and the organisation are giving absolutely nothing back to them, only woe and money worries. And in England at the minute, in Britain particularly, we have an energy crisis. It's costing us an absolute arm and a leg, and I mean it really is costing us an awful lot of money, hundreds of pounds a month just to heat our homes. Because the price of gas and stuff is that high here. They've got that. The petrol and diesel are absolutely through the roof expensive here. People just can't afford to be running 15 miles to another hall. They can't be running then, on the ministry and running everywhere else, going to assemblies, having to fork out more money for assemblies. And people are getting sick of it, and they're becoming wise to it. They're saying, well, hang on a minute, you don't get this with any other churches. You don't, you're not getting this in what's going on? Why is the governing body doing this? Why don't they care about us? Why can't they understand that we are struggling financially in this country, and in other countries as well, I know. But then they're still closing down Kingdom Halls and making people go further. And people are starting to get sick of this. They're starting to wake up to it. And, and they can put on all the memorials they like, but it's not going to help them. You know what I mean? Because the numbers are dwindling, and it's only a matter of time before the tower topples. I mean, it really is. I've never seen it in such a state as it is now. I mean, I never thought for 1 minute a few years ago that it would ever be in the state that it is now. I mean, it was not good then, but it's now it's just a shell of its former self. And and this is what's happening. People are becoming wise, and people are starting to leave in the droves. And the quicker it goes, the better. And so that's anybody else got a comment before we close? Got 3 minutes or so. So anybody want to come in? No. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No. All right. Well, it looks like nobody else coming in there. So. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would like to ask you a quick question. You had a woman that was coming to your door that was a witness?
Yeah, well, what it was, she, her name, well, I won't tell you her name online, but she's, because she'll get disfellowshipped if anybody heard it, but she's a friend of mine, and her and her husband used to be really good friends. They're a bit older than me. I mean, I think she's in the late 60s, he's in his 70s now. But we've been friends for years, and I could go and, there was the only people I could ever trust as a JW not to go back to the elders and tell them what I'd said. If I'd got an issue, but I didn't really want to cause an issue within the congregation, but I wanted to get it off my chest, I'd go and speak to them about it. And they weren't no fan of the elders themselves because they didn't like the elders, because they was in the same congregation as me at the time. They moved eventually to this other congregation, but anyway, I hadn't seen them since I disassociated, and but then one day a few weeks ago, she come and his wife come and knocked on my door, and she said, "I want to talk to you about your daughter, Michaela, my oldest daughter." And I said, "Oh yeah, fine." And I thought, "Well, what's this about?" Anyway, she come in. And what it was, I mean, a lot of you, I've said before that my oldest daughter was sexually abused by an elder in my old congregation. Well, it turns out that her granddaughter, who's about 8 or 9 years old, I think at the time, was probably also molested by him as well. And she wanted to come and ask me what had happened with my daughter, and to see, anyway, then after I told her, she was convinced then that that something should be done. So I reported it again to the police. Well, I reported it to Child Welfare Protection Unit, and anyway, they contacted her, and but nothing was really done because it was just this little girl's word against his, but. And unfortunately, the little girl had got learning difficulties, and so it was difficult to sort of get much out of her, and so it made it impossible. Once again, he got away with it, but he'll not get away with it for too much longer. I'm determined, to sort of track somebody down, because it'll not just be my daughter, it'll not just be that little girl, it'll be other girls. And so that's why she risked coming to my door, because she wanted to talk to me about what had happened to her granddaughter. She has sole custody of her granddaughter because of things that has happened with her daughter-in-law and stuff, and her son. She's now got full custody of the young girl, and of course she was in her care when it happened. So that's why she came to my door. Anyway, but the thing is, I live right on the main road through town. So, I mean, everybody passes my house to get in and out of town. And I just said to her, I said, you do realise if anybody sees you, you'll be disfellowshipped immediately, particularly because it's me, because they really hate me. They really do. They've got a thing. I mean, they've told everybody I'm dangerous and shouldn't be approached. So, anyway, she come for that really, and then she come again a week or two later, and then she was telling me about her Kingdom Hall being sold, and apparently they're going to move back to the Kingdom Hall that I was in. I mean, like I say, I was a member of 2 congregations. First of all, Loftus, which was my first congregation, and I moved to Skelton, which was not Skelton, Gisborough, which was in the same Kingdom Hall. We shared a Kingdom Hall, and now apparently a 3rd congregation has also got to share the Kingdom Hall. So I mean, how but this is what I was talking to her about. I said, well, don't you find that odd that they don't care about you and the rest of people like you that are struggling? I said, and doesn't it bother you about the 2 witness rule with the paedophiles and so on? We had a good chat about various different things, and various different prophecies as we've been talking about tonight, and and she she's still going to the meetings as far as I know, but she's not. I would say she's probably PMO now. To be honest with you, she's had enough. She said she'd had enough. She told me she'd had enough of them all, and so. But she carries on going. I think because she's got a few friends there, and that she's been in the truth for, I don't know, 30 or 40 years now, and it's all she's ever known, I suppose. But I was shocked. Well, I wasn't shocked. I was sort of shocked when she said that there was closing down the hall where she was, because even though it had shrunk, the Kingdom Hall, the amount of people going, there was still a fair few going. There's still a good number, and certainly not enough, I wouldn't have thought, to shut down a Kingdom Hall. But yet that's what they've done. So anyway, there we go. Right. Well, if nobody else has got anything, I think we're about there, aren't we, Rick?
Yeah, we're just about there, Roland. Yes, you can wrap it up. Yep.
Yeah, I have to apologise tonight because I suddenly had to change the programme tonight, because I was expecting to be interviewing somebody tonight, but she unfortunately had to pull out due to unforeseen circumstances. Hopefully I shall be interviewing her in a fortnight. That's Sabrina. And we're talking about a article that she wrote entitled "Just Get Over It." That's for ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who are struggling with partners who don't really understand the issues that people who have been JWs go through when they leave. Maybe they met the partner after they've left the JW hall, and it is difficult for people who've never been a JW to possibly understand how the scars really mount up, and how much wounds, how they really wound you deep and mentally scar you. And you can't just get over it. But Sabrina's wrote this article. It's a really good article. We're going to question her about that, and we'll talk about her time in the truth, and how she came to be in it, and how she came to leave, and then talk about the article. So we're looking forward to that, providing she can make it on this in a fortnight's time. So I was a bit all over the place tonight. I do apologise, because it was a last minute thing. So, and of course, then I suddenly realised Chad wasn't here, because he's doing a wonderful thing at the memorial for the shooting victims, of course, in the school. So yeah. Anyway, that's it, Rick. I'll leave it with you and call it a night.
Well, very good, Roland. Just checking a couple of the things I got going here, my technical issues, but we're all set to roll. So thank you very much, Roland. You did a great job, and thank you for coming in. We'll see you and Chad in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you will. Thank you. Good night, and God bless everybody.
Thank you, Roland. All right. Well, that was Roland Smith out of the United Kingdom. We want to thank Roland for doing his program tonight. And boy, I'll tell you what, he's really making a difference. His program is getting a lot of people listening in live, and also when it's uploaded to YouTube. So thank you very much, Roland. Now, you don't want to go anywhere. We have got JW World News coming up next. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about, but we've been talking about it now for 17 years. We're not giving up now. So stay with us. We're going to be on YouTube and a number of other platforms tonight. So by all means, hang in with us, and I think you'll really like the programs we got coming up tonight. And another thing I wanted to mention is at 9:30 tonight, we have got Fran and Joe. They're going to be doing their program, The Outside Story, but they are on the road. They're going to be in Houston, Texas, and they're out visiting all of these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, and I can hardly wait to hear what they've got to say. And then at 11 o'clock tonight, we have an up-and-coming star here on the 6 screens. I'll tell you what, the red pill from the Watchtower. That's Eric out of Nashville, Tennessee. He'll be coming on tonight with that program. That's about 11. And then if you can't sleep tonight, as we always say, listening to Linda James, Apostate Babe. She's your favorite apostate. She'll be on here tonight at around 12:30. So let's get the wheels moving here. Let me just make sure all the sound clips are up. And we're going to end this broadcast in this studio. Now we're going to move to the next